If there is one thing that really upsets me, but at the same time it puzzles me, is this complete lack of coverage, almost utter lack of coverage when it comes to this massacre of Christians in Nigeria. Yeah, you hear it mentioned occasionally here and there, but nobody's really talking about it. Now, personally, I've spoken about it on a few posts on X and a few other social media platforms that I have, and I've sometimes talked about it and prayed for brothers and sisters that have been persecuted, Christian brothers and sisters who have been persecuted in Nigeria during my live streams. But today I decided to make a video about it also because just 2 days ago there was like a big announcement when it comes to possible intervention from the United States, as was stated by President Donald Trump. Now I wanted to review this very quickly and see if we agree, disagree. How about we have a look?
An urgent message from President Trump demanding Nigeria stop the brutal murders of thousands of Christians in the country or face possible action from the Pentagon.
All right.
Well, we're going to begin this morning with a Fox News alert.
President Trump ordering the Pentagon to prepare for possible fast military action in Nigeria if the country fails to crack down on the mass killing of Christians.
Yeah.
Rebecca Castor joins us live from Washington, D.C. with those details. Rebecca, good morning.
Rachel, good morning. Yeah, President Trump is not mincing words here. This is what he said on Truth Social yesterday. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into the now disgraced country at guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible attack. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians.
Sweet? Why sweet, for crying out loud? Warning the Nigerian government better move fast, yeah.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth got the message and says the Department of War is preparing for action. The response comes as the persecution of Christians in Nigeria has reached crisis levels. Islamist militants have burned down churches and Christian schools. And international civil rights groups estimate more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered in the country since 2009. But the president of Nigeria claims the reports of violence are misleading and says on X the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians.
Look, Mr. President Tinubu, regardless of your alleged consistent and sincere efforts to safeguard, you have clearly failed. Rather than trying to save face, how about we try and save the Christians that are being persecuted viciously? How about that?
Our administration is committed to working freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. And our administration is committed to working with the United States government and international community to deepen understanding and cooperation of...
Not to deepen understanding, to stop the massacre. Not to deepen understanding.
Communities of all faiths.
And even this, it's communities of all faiths. It's not communities of all faiths that are being mass murdered. It's the Christians. So focus on them. Focus on them, us.
President Trump also recently redesignated Nigeria as a country of concern after former President Biden removed it from the list in 2021.
In 2021, this thing has been happening since like freaking 2009, is it? That's unbelievable. Biden, piece of garbage.
Rachel, Charlie, and Griff, back to you.
All right, Rebecca, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Well, it's really hard to tell what's going on. We understand that they are Muslim rebels of sorts. There's all kinds of unrest in these countries. And it's not just in Nigeria. It's in Sudan. It's in Chad. It's in the Congo. I mean, it's all over Africa. And, it's out of control. And it is very targeted at Christians. You look at that number in just one country, 50,000. And then he says, well, there's no targeted attack. It's kind of crazy. But we've been hearing this from, groups like Boko Haram since the Obama days. Remember when they kidnapped those girls and there was this whole campaign to bring back the girls. And many of those girls are still in captivity. This is a gentleman named Paul Adamu. He is Nigerian. He is a Christian, and he was kidnapped by Boko Haram. And this is what he had to say in an op-ed with Fox News recently. He said, "These are not random acts of violence. They are systematic, coordinated attempts to erase Christian communities from the region.
Let's
As someone who
listen
has
to the
walked through the
victim.
burned villages and prayed with survivors, I can tell you the reality is even worse than the statistics suggest. The United States and other Western nations cannot look away. They have both the moral obligation and the diplomatic tools to press Nigeria towards real accountability.
I honestly wish that Nigeria could get its shit together when it comes to this. But if the government is incompetent, then at this point, I would also say, I don't know if we have the obligation, but I would say the support, at least I would give my support to help these Christian brothers and sisters. And before anyone tries to tell me, oh, because they're Christians, you're saying that we need to stop the genocide, but you didn't say a word about the Palestinian genocide, and what about Palestine? Before you do that nonsense with me, I did. I've spoken about, and I have shared my feelings and my heart towards, in support of all the innocent Palestinian children that died, also in support of the innocent Israeli children who died, and now in support of the Nigerian Christians who died. Children, well, we say children because the children are in fact the gravest of all. But in general, innocence, it doesn't matter. Someone is innocent. I did. Did you, who say, oh, what about Palestine? Did you speak about this? So you're in no position to open your mouth, people that do that. Hypocrite. Anyways, we're talking about this. I'm focusing on this right now.
By the way, he is also going to be on our show later on
And no
today,
one
and we'll
talks about it.
Hear from him directly.
And, you know, the thing that I love about that, the tweet, the message by President Trump is that, you know, we talked last week about the done row doctrine, how President Trump is concerned more about his own backyard, which is way smarter than gallivanting all around the world. But the other thing is you can use that pulpit as a way to put your foot down and scare the living bejesus out of foreign countries where they are doing things like this. And it's part of the anything.
I don't know if you're going to scare the bejesus out of Islamic terrorists, to be honest, but I mean.
It's part of the anything is possible doctrine or the daddy's home doctrine, where people are actually afraid. They recognize he really will make good on all of his promises.
Okay, look, I agree with President Trump on this one, but I will say, let's not pretend like there has never been a single politician in the history of mankind who's made good on to all of his promises. So maybe you're overglazing here. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, think about it. It is even the very fact that candidates for presidency or prime minister, for instance, positions, during electoral year, they can actually, in campaigns, they can promise whatever the heck they want, and they don't have, by law, to keep those promises. Isn't that kind of insane if you really think about it for a moment? They promise whatever they want, but then they don't actually have to keep it. They can, they don't have to. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's kind of a case by case. But it's kind of insane to think, come on, keep all of his promises. Never happened, ever.
And that tends to sort of inspire peace, and we've seen it around the world.
I love the way you said earlier when we were talking about this before the show started. I said, well, I think all the actors in there are bad. I mean, these are factions, military factions fighting against each other, and these civilians are sort of caught in it. And Charlie said, well, it's just that's what President Trump does. He just says, knock it off, or I'm coming up there.
Don't make me come upstairs.
It's a great point, but the important part about it is we are seeing President Trump's peace through strength in action, because there's soft power, the trade that has gotten so much accomplishments, but then there's a hard power, and that's the threat of guns a-blazing. And look, if he does go guns a-blazing, it's going to be a limited strike, precision. It's not going to be some starting a war. We've seen.
Yeah, no, I'm not expecting boots on the ground. I'm expecting airstrikes. I'm expecting demonstration of strength and military power. That's what I'm expecting. I would be very surprised if we get, like, in the Navy, you can do naval blockades. That's been done in areas that may have an interest in for commerce and trade, for instance. But, I mean, not Nigeria, but I'm saying in general. I'm not honestly, maybe a commando strike at that point. I'm not expecting an actual invasion of military, like with the Marine Corps in there. But then again,
Adamu is a Nigerian Christian who was kidnapped by Boko Haram 2 years ago. He joins us now. It's so wonderful to have you on the show. Please tell us what happened to you.
Before, I don't want to interrupt the gentleman. I don't want to be disrespectful. But one thing I will say, my position when it comes to this, I do think that we should do something about it, because we meaning America, I know I'm putting myself in it, but that's where I live. Okay, so I'm going to say we. The thing is that, America intervenes. That's what America does. America has intervened in the war in Europe during World War II. America has intervened and has been intervening when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to supporting Israel, when it comes to bombing Iran. America's been doing all of this. And I think that America should absolutely look into this absolute disgrace of is it a genocide, what is happening? I don't know, because again, the technical specifications of whether or not it's a genocide or not, we're going to go into pedantry. And in fact, I have a dedicated video, it was really long video, by the way, on whether or not Julius Caesar or Julius Caesar, if his actions in Gaul would be qualified technically as a genocide. But regardless of that, genocide in the loose sense. So yeah, at this point, we're intervening on anything. Why are we not intervening on this? Now, I hope, of course, that anything can be achieved through diplomatic action first, and then through assets such as military threat, military intervention threat. Because sometimes the threat alone is sufficient. Right? Now, I don't know if it's going to be sufficient with religious extremists. It's a different kettle of fish. But I hope that that's we don't need to do any other type of intervention. Now, if they are going to do some intervention, I don't think that's going to be boots on the ground. I do think it's going to be something similar to some kind of Air Force involvement, or maybe naval blockades and that kind of stuff. I think maybe commando. I don't know, honestly, what they're going to do. Do you think it is going to be boots on the ground? I personally don't think so, but I do believe that something needs to be done. We need to save these Christian brothers and sisters. And to be fair, whether you be left or right, if you're a Christian right-winger, then, these are Christians, so let's save them. And if you are a leftist, these are black people, let's save them. I don't know how to place it, but at the end of the day, we need to save these brothers and sisters, damn it.
It was such a disheartening situation. 2 years ago, I was kidnapped by the dreaded Boko Haram along my way to the airport while I was traveling to Cameroon to meet some of my colleagues, and then I got kidnapped along the route.
And you were held for how long?
12 days.
Okay. And there are many people, especially young girls, who have been kidnapped by Boko Haram, put into forced marriages, forced conversions. They're still in captivity. The situation there is quite dire. You heard what President Trump has said. Here's what Nigeria's president has said in response. He said that the characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the...
Anyways, that's the situation. Hopefully we can have peace without war. But then again, if you want peace, prepare for war.